What is up, Swing Trader Snacks here. We're going to jump in and do our watch list for Thursday, December 4th, starting with a bit of market breadth, as we always do like to do. Looking at the SPY here, this entire week we've really gone sideways following last week's move, which did breach and hold above our most recent lower high. And we're really battling with this second level here. With a nice close yesterday, looking at market internals here, my interest has been pretty low all week on an entry. We were very strong, as we can see on the up-down volume and the cumulative up-down volume here. Very, very strong last week, which was semi-surprising being a holiday week, this amount of strength. But for Monday, Tuesday session, we were just absolutely flat and sideways. Seeing this as well here on the advanced decline. So just really didn't have any interest in this move as we were going sideways. And what I was mentioning early in the week was a possibility for an inverse head and shoulders here, and that I would really like to see a market pullback early in the week that held one of our levels, the 674, or at the very least the 663 area, and then pushing back higher, and that would be a move that we could buy. But instead what we've done is just go sideways. And now what I'm looking at is just a break of this range that I will likely put on a little bit of risk on that move. With this sideways price action, that's another form of strength for me. It's sideways consolidation. It's allowing the buyers to, take a breath and build up again. If we can break out of the range, then I think that is a move we can buy. I'm going to keep this pretty simple because I don't have that many names that I am looking at. Before we look at the names I like, let's look here at the RSP and IWM. We're strong. Look, guys, we went sideways and now we're testing top of range. A breakout in RSP would be very, very healthy, suggesting broad positioning. And IWM as well, looking strong, up back towards top of range and possibly looking to break out. We've got a shift in tone from the Fed, especially with yesterday's jobless claims, which was a big miss. I think a rate cut is a done deal. Even a slight speculation of 50 basis points, but 25 basis points is pretty much a done deal. And then another thing that I have liked to see here recently is crypto catching a bid. I would like to see this move continue to sustain and get legs on it, suggesting broad risk appetite throughout our markets. ETFs are looking strong to me. Let's go ahead and check out what was the strongest yesterday. Oh, we've got ARK up there on the top again. Just a good signal for risk on. Again, if you see ARK leading and then you've got biotech right below it, wow, you've got speculative ETF and speculative pre-rev ETF followed by biotech as our leaders on the day yesterday. And big day on both of them. Wow. Nice response there in biotech. What did healthcare do? It was up. Yeah, nice little reaction there in healthcare. So look, guys, I like what I'm seeing. I will say that. I do like the strength we are seeing here in financials. I would love to see this guy break out and push us up into year end. We certainly need financials as a participant in a move higher. If it's going to sustain and have legs. Second largest market cap sector in the markets. Look at bots here, getting a big gap up. We're getting a lot of talk. The president mentioned something about robotics, or I'm not even sure exactly that he said it, but his cabinet, there's going to be a focus on robotics in 2026. And, look, you can see the reaction here. Back over the 50 here on bots. That is a fantastic look. I did just make a list of robotics names. Typically, I only like to focus on the leaders, but there's a couple turds on this list, as you can see here. But, noticing the volume that did come into those yesterday. Look at that. Look at that. Fantastic. So those of you that like to speculate or the degens out there, I'm sure some leaps here could be pretty attractive, but also, there's some really fantastic companies in here. Some of these surgical robotic companies just really look absolutely beautiful. All right, if this can hold that gap level, get back over the 9. Yeah, this looks like it could triple R today. For those of you that it's your first time here, I like to trade the leaders in a trend backed by growing fundamentals, and I like to see them retrace, react at or around the level, and then remount the short term. And that is trigger for my triple R bread and butter model. But look, guys, you need to have robotics on watch. If you want this watch list of robotics, either pause the video and grab them yourselves or ask for it down in the comments and I will link it in your comment. Okay. We've got a couple of the ETFs here on the top as well. Let's see how RR, wow, 18% up yesterday on RR. I do believe that they just reported earnings. Yeah. Good reaction to earnings. Yeah. This guy back over the 50 is attractive. Let's see how this looks on the weekly. Is this a weekly? Look at that. Oh, heyo, heyo, that's worth watching. All right, so you get a retracement reaction at or around our level and a remount of the short term. And a triple R on the weekly is very, very strong. We'll look at Dash here, something that I traded frequently over the last year. And I took one weekly triple R trigger, as you can see right here, and then I took 5 or 6 daily triple R triggers here up above, and that one trade was bigger than all of the others combined. So you can see how well you can be rewarded by proper timing on a weekly triple R trigger, but you get a retracement reaction at around our level and a remount of the short term. Look actually at how similar this looks. I know they're completely different companies. Don't come at me. Okay. But look, it's so similar. You get a retracement down into the 50, an earnings report that gets us back over the 9, right? And then look at the move that followed. Check this out in RR. Very, very, very similar look here. Retracement down into the 50, earnings report getting us back over the 9 for a triple R trigger on the weekly. I like RR, I must say. Okay, that's going to be on watch for maybe leaps. I might like the longer term idea. You know, they make, I believe, like server robotics, you know, think like a barista, something of that sort. And I know they've got some work with or contracts with NVIDIA. You know, there's potential here. Look at all that volume. I know it got very nasty here, guys, but this is attractive. It held structure and it's pushing back over the 9. Guys, this is a triple R trigger on the weekly. A little more speculative price-wise than I usually like to be, but structure, technicals, that's beautiful. All right, guys, and some of the other things I am looking at, I am still favoring some weekly triggers. We'll jump into my grid that I'm currently watching. These are the 8 that I am most favoring today, you could say, but we've got Amazon here trying to work on a triple R trigger on the weekly. I would like this to push back up towards top of range for this week's candle, would be a good trigger for me there. We've got Rocket Lab, another sector that, look, the Google CEO talked about putting data centers in space just 2 days ago, and then Sam Altman was talking about acquiring a rocket company or launching one, something in that world so they could put data centers in space. I expect Rocket Lab to catch a bid, and you've got a retracement reaction at around our level, remount of the 9 here at about 49.50 area is a trigger. Looks, it's got a little bit of work to do, right? I don't see that happening today, but you know, tomorrow, early next week, there's a triple R trigger for me there. MP, another one, we're looking for it to catch a bid. I do want it to clear this range that it's had trouble with around the 66 area. And then we've got ANET as well, looking to triple R trigger, and LMD looking fantastic as well. LMD does look a little bit better to me here on our peg play, which we've not looked at in a little while here. But check out LMD on Peg Watch here. So for Peg Play, we want a gap up of at least 10% on at least 200% volume. That is the qualifier to put something on Peg Watch for me. And then we put in a fixed range volume profile, which you can see is a shaded box, and it has a point of control, is this dotted black line. And that is measuring the highest volume within our fixed range, right? So it's the point of control. Above it, buyers are in control. Below it, sellers are in control. And then we've got an anchored VWAP, which is this green line that we put on the gap day, right? And you guys know what an anchored VWAP is. We want price trading above an up-sloped anchored VWAP and the point of control. That is the trigger for me on a peg play. And LMD does look attractive to me. So that aligning with a weekly trigger here, along with a peg play trigger here, is very attractive. I do like LMND for that as well. If you have not watched, I put out video 2 in the AI Decade series that I started on the channel yesterday, and it was power. And again, it's so funny. The first one that I put out, the first episode I put out was cooling. The day I released it was the day that the US market CME group futures went down for like, I think it was over 12 hours due to a cooling issue. And I put that video out like simulation. And then yesterday I put out power, and Jensen goes on to Joe Rogan and says the bottleneck to AI is power. It's the second sentence in my video. So many ticks going in that simulation box. It's absolutely wild. But do watch that video. I feature the 3 companies that AI doesn't happen without them. They are 3 fantastic companies. I encourage you to go watch that video if you're looking for longer term investment. Flipping through a couple more here, guys. Look, things look good. Okay, we're getting a weekly trigger on SHOP, triple R trigger on SHOP. AMD back up towards top of week's range is a weekly trigger on AMD. It tried to look below on this gap fill. It failed. It's pushing back up, reclaiming the 9. That's a triple R trigger on the weekly for me here as well. I don't hate the idea of uranium heating back up as well on the back of that. I think power narrative is going to only continue to grow. We've got a good trigger here. I seem to like it a little bit more over the 16 area as opposed to just over the 9. But the 9 is the trigger for me on triple R, and you can see this is a nice tight pullback to retest prior all-time highs, reacted off of it, retracement, reaction at around our level, and a remount of the 9 is triple R trigger on the weekly for me there. Looks like snow missed on earnings, so we'll have to take that off of watch for now. And one last one here, Hood is quite attractive, remounting the 50 here. So look, there's a lot out there. I think I want to focus on my grid here, which Hood is on. We had our weekly trigger yesterday, and it's also doing the daily 50 trigger for triple R. So look, there's some great traders out there, and we got a much better day on our internals. To close this out, let's look at our market breadth and see where we are here. Still above our midpoint on the stocks above or below their 50-day moving average, and we're also holding up on the high-low index. Weekly chart looking good. Guys, things look all right to me to take a position. I am controlling size. I do expect heightened volatility going into the Fed meeting, even though it's pretty much a done deal of a 25 basis point cut. I expect them to, ramp up volatility going into it. I know it can be annoying. I know that it's been a tough market lately, but we still do need to control our size. We don't want to go in too heavy thinking we know what the Fed's going to do. Doesn't mean you know how the market's going to react, and I expect some shakiness going into it, so we need to control our size still. But I think we'll be able to trust the move we get after that meeting. Should be all clear into year end as far as the economic calendar events go, those headlines. So keep it tight going into that meeting, and we'll look here at the SPY one last time. What I would really love to see as far as positioning goes coming out of that meeting, which would possibly move us into a risk environment A, which we've not been in over 2 months. I would love to see a push maybe up into that meeting, maybe a little shakiness, and then a rip coming out of it. The first pullback off of that rip that holds above all-time highs, if this happens, right? I don't see us rolling hard off of the meeting. I could see a pullback happening, okay? But I think the next move coming out of the meeting, if we happen to get the pullback going into the meeting and we get the clarity of the rate announcement and the policy moving forward, and that is what pushes us up, this could be risk profile A for me in the market. Or if we push up leading into it, the first pullback that holds, I don't know if it's going to be here. I don't know if it's going to be here. I don't know if it's going to be here. But wherever that hold does happen, we can buy that move with end of year rally in mind. So I'm thinking maybe we get a risk profile A one more time this year, which will very likely get us back up over 200%, tripling the account this year. I'm very excited, but doesn't mean I'm going to force anything, guys. We're going to stay disciplined. We built our scenarios. We're not going to predict. We're going to react. So with that, guys, stay safe, manage your risk. Let's go make some money. I'll see you soon.